All right, today we're going to jump into this absolutely brilliant piece of storytelling from the Gospel of Mark. Seriously, the way it's structured is just incredible. It's a story about life and death, right? But it's told as this high-stakes rescue mission that suddenly gets interrupted by a whole other crisis that seems to come out of nowhere. It's like a narrative puzzle, and when we start piecing it together, well, it reveals something really profound about hope and desperation.
So you've got these two people, right? A dying girl and a suffering woman. And on the surface, they have basically nothing in common. One was this cherished daughter of a really important community leader, and the other, she's a nameless social outcast. But the author Mark weaves their stories together for a very specific, very powerful reason. So what's the connection? What's the link? That's the puzzle we're going to try and solve.
So let's start with part one. The story kicks off with this guy who you'd think has it all. He's got power, respect, a major position of authority. But we meet him at the one moment when, well, none of that stuff matters. He's facing a crisis that all his power and status just can't fix.
And what's so striking right away is how public this is. This isn't some quiet, backroom plea for help. This guy, Jarius, a synagogue leader, just throws away all his dignity, all his composure, and falls at Jesus' feet. And he does it in front of a huge crowd. I mean, that's just a powerful image of complete and utter desperation.
Man, you can just feel the urgency in his words, can't you? It's just a raw, direct plea from a dad who's watching his daughter's life just slip away. He's convinced that one specific action, a touch from Jesus, is the only thing that can possibly save her. And just like that, Jesus agrees to go with him. The clock is officially ticking. But just as this desperate race against time gets going, the story just hits the brakes. The focus suddenly shifts away from Jarius and zooms right into the middle of this anonymous crowd, picking out a single hidden person. And here we meet a woman who's been suffering for 12 long years. Now, this isn't just some physical problem. In that culture, her condition of constant bleeding would have made her ritually unclean. Think about that. 12 years of social and religious isolation. And right here, the author drops the first huge clue connecting these two stories. It's so powerful. The woman has been suffering for 12 years, the exact amount of time Jairus' daughter has been alive. So you have 12 years of decay and suffering for one, and 12 years of life for the other. And now, both of them are on a collision course with death. The text paints this incredibly bleak picture of just total hopelessness. She's tried everything. She's suffered through painful treatments, she's completely broke from paying doctors, and, worst of all, her condition is even worse than when she started. She is at the absolute end of her rope. This is her last resort. It's not a big public request like the one from Jarius. No, this is a secret, desperate act of pure faith. She believes that even the smallest, most indirect contact with Jesus holds the power to restore her.
And this just illustrates the contrast the author sets up so brilliantly. You have Jarius, the named public figure, begging openly for help. And then you have this woman, anonymous, an outcast, acting totally in secret. He asks for a touch to be given to his daughter. She takes a touch for herself. They're two totally different people, but both are driven by this desperate faith.
Okay, so what happens next takes this secret little act of faith and shoves it right into the spotlight. And all this is happening while poor Jarius is just anxiously waiting. The healing is instant. It is total. After 12 years of suffering, it's just over in a moment. She physically feels it. The bleeding stops. The suffering is gone. She got her miracle. Now she can just slip back into the crowd, her secret safe. Or so she thinks. But Jesus stops everything cold. He felt power go out from him. See, this wasn't just an accidental bump in the crowd, it was a specific draw on his power. And his question, "Who touched me?" it's not really for information. It's an invitation for that person to come forward. He's determined to turn this secret healing into a public moment. And you can totally understand her fear, right? In her unclean state, she just broke all kinds of social and religious rules by touching him. She's probably expecting a really harsh rebuke. But instead of hiding, she comes forward, falls at his feet, just like Jarius did, and tells him everything. And his response is just filled with compassion. He doesn't just, confirm her healing. He restores her entire dignity. By calling her daughter, he's welcoming her back into the community. He publicly announces that her faith, not some magic in his clothes, is what made her well. She's healed, yes, but now she is also seen.
But right at this incredible moment of restoration, the story snaps right back to Jarius. And the news is absolutely crushing.
Can you just imagine Jairus' heart hitting the floor? He just witnessed a miracle, a perfect example of faith being rewarded. But for him, it seems like this delay has cost him everything. The messengers say it's over. Hope is gone. They're too late.
Jesus overhears this despair, and he speaks directly to Jarius. And this is the moment where the two stories just lock together perfectly. The entire interruption, the healing of the woman, it wasn't some disastrous delay, it was a lesson. It was a live demonstration for Jarius of what just believe actually looks like, especially when everyone around you is saying all hope is lost.
So now, with that powerful lesson in faith fresh in his mind, Jarius follows Jesus to his home, and they're about to confront death itself. The scene they walk into is just chaos. It's filled with public, professional mourners. The house is just full of the sounds of despair. As far as the world is concerned, this is it. This is the final, irreversible reality.
Jesus walks into this chaos and says something that sounds completely absurd to everyone there. He reframes the whole situation not as a final end, but as a temporary state. And what's the response? Laughter. Scornful laughter. I mean, these people know what death looks like, and they mock him for his words.
So in response to their mockery, Jesus clears the room. He completely changes the atmosphere, shifting it from a public spectacle of grief to a private, sacred moment. Only the parents and his inner circle, his 3 disciples, are allowed to see what happens next. His actions are so calm, so deliberate, and just full of authority.
He takes her hand, just as the woman had touched his cloak, and he speaks a simple command in his own language, Aramaic. There's no big, elaborate prayer or ritual. It's just a direct, personal, and incredibly powerful command to this little girl.
And just like the woman's healing, the result is instantaneous. The girl gets up and starts walking around. The professional mourners were laughing just a few moments earlier, but for the few who actually witnessed this, the reaction is just utter astonishment. They have literally seen the impossible happen right before their eyes.
But the story ends with one last fascinating command. Jesus gives them strict orders not to tell anyone what just happened. And that leaves us with this big question to think about. After a private healing was made so public, why would this incredibly public-facing miracle be commanded to be kept a secret? It's a puzzle that really invites us to dig deeper into the purpose and the meaning behind these incredible events.